Bookworms, welcome to the Weekend Readers Book Club. Thank you for joining us. In this episode, we are discussing the book entitled The Revenge of the Radioactive Lady by Elizabeth Stuckey-French. Now, this book here, this is the first Elizabeth Stuckey-French book that I have read. And supposedly the back cover says it's a nod to the old school movies like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, etc., etc. So I haven't seen the movies. I was like drawn in by the actual cover of the novel. That's why I sort of picked it and read it, and the back blurb sounded okay. So the story is that a 70-year-old lady was given a cocktail of drugs back in the day. When she was pregnant, the doctor said it was vitamins, but it was a government experiment. She has now, grown up in life, and that she's now 70, and she is plotting revenge against the doctor that gave her the drug cocktail. And this is a story of following our main character, Nance or Mary Lou, on her adventure to move to the town where the doctor lives, embrace his family, and plot to kill him. That's the gist of the story. So I've finished reading The Revenge of the Radioactive Lady by Elizabeth Stuckey-French, and this is my review rant about the book. 1. I love the cover. The cover is so awesome. It's just very retro looking, and as I said previously, that's what drew me into actually picking up the book in the first place. 2, the story, 3/4 of the book, I love the story. The last end of the book, I felt weak. Now, it may be because of the nod that it is making in relation to the movies that it is based on. Again, I haven't seen the movies. Well, not based on, she's taken reference from the movies. I read her acknowledgements. Elizabeth Stuckey-French does an acknowledgement at the back, and she writes down where she's taken reference from. And yeah, it's something. I mean, the first 3/4 of the book had me fairly entertained. The last quarter, I was just like, we went a complete 180 on stuff. But let me explain. So we got the main character, Mary Lou and Nance. She's moved to the town where the family lives. She's plotting to kill the old doctor, right? Her story sort of goes about face in the sense that she embraces the family, like the doctor's family. The doctor has, a daughter and son-in-law and then some grandchildren. She embraces their family and then plays somewhat of a weird I'm your grandmother but not your grandmother role to the family, which was okay to start with, but then at the end of the book it just went complete 180 where she ends up, I won't actually spoil it for you in case you want to read it, but yeah, just a complete 180. And like her story I found like okay, but I was more interested in what the kids and the other characters were doing, unfortunately, in the book. The doctor that Mary Lou or Nance is after, he's still alive. He sort of remembers, sort of doesn't remember, because in the book he's got dementia. So it makes for an interesting story. He literally just sits and wallows the whole day in the book looking at ducks. And I found him very boring. You've got the daughter who is the mother of the house. She's middle-aged, got some young kids, and she's losing the plot at home. Her husband, he's got one of those things we call a work wife, and he likes to his work wife, so he's done the dirty on the wife. Then you've got the 3 kids. You've got one kid that's obsessed with Elvis. You got another kid that's building a nuclear reactor in the garage because he's super smart. And then you've got a 3rd kid that plays soccer, gets injured, and then gets sexually violated. Yes, you heard me right. Throw in a person that takes model photos, throw in a crazy church where the priest likes to do some dodgy dodgy shit to young ladies, throw in a couple of crazy kids that aren't related to the main character's family who just go around and terrorize the neighborhood, and you somewhat have this whole book summed up in one. The reason I don't, like I say, 3/4 of the book was good and then 1/4 it wasn't. It was like the premise of the book is the lady's gonna kill the husband, to kill the old man, the doctor, right? She's plotting and she figures out ways to do it. And you can see the way in which she can slowly do it while her interactions with the family, right? Now, 3/4 of a way through, something happens. And then we're left where the story pivots a whole 180. And we're left going, well, actually, we don't want to do that anymore because there's bigger fish to fry in the scheme of things. And it's like, well, hold up. You've spent all your lifetime being all so just like, I'm going to kill this guy. And then we get there, you get to the point to kill him, but it doesn't happen because of other factors in life. And it's like, I really wanted a payoff of the story in relation to the main story, but you didn't give me that. You gave me another alternative ending in relation to, the subplots of the additional stories that went on in the book. And in the ending you did give me for the main story, I'm just like, oh, that's weak sauce. So, overall, mixed bag in relation to reading this book. So the question will be, will The Revenge of the Radioactive Lady by Elizabeth Stuckey-French be going onto my bookshelf? The answer is no. I may donate it to somebody to read, to see if they like it, because they're more movie buff and might be up their alley in relation to, the nods to movies that is in this book per se, in the way it's written. But for me, I read it, it was okay. I wouldn't go back to reread it, but yeah, just a big overall miss, especially the last quarter for The Revenge of the Radioactive Lady. So Bookworms, as it customs here on the Weekend Readers Book Club, as one book closes, another book has to open, and it is now time to find out what the next read for the Weekend Readers Book Club is. And Bookworms, we can confirm that the next read is Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein. Hopefully I've pronounced that surname correctly. Starship Troopers, I know of the movie. I'm going to make a shout out to my book guy Brian for picking this up for me. Thank you, Brian. I believe I Googled best science fiction books to read, and that was especially after the likes of 1984 that I read, that I was like, oh, this book is actually really cool. So Starship Troopers, I'm going to give it a whirl. I can't remember the movie. I know there was a crew of people fighting bugs. That's about it. So I'm going to give this a whirl and see how it goes. So, Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein. You are the next read for the Weekend Readers Book Club. So, Bookworms, that was my review and rant of The Revenge of the Radioactive Lady by Elizabeth Stuckey-French. As I said, a book I enjoyed 3/4 of the way. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the pivot that the story made, and I didn't like the fact that we got awesome closure on the sub-story in the novel, but then the main story, we got some weak-ass finish. Now, again, this is just my thoughts. So, I mean, you may read the book and go, oh, this book is absolutely marvelous. That's fine. You're allowed to have your own opinion. So, I mean, for me, this just isn't my cup of tea. But I'm glad I've read it. So, The Revenge of the Radioactive Lady, you will be donated to the next reader who wants to read it. So, Bookworms, that's the end of the episode. Thank you again for joining us. And until next time, happy reading.